Oh, you hear the sweet riff, and you know it is time for Believe in Chargers. And lo, we are excited. We've made the big time. Look at it right there, FanDuel. We have got ourselves a partner, and it's a partner we love. Been dealing with FanDuel for years now. Absolutely love what they do over there. We could not be more excited that they reached out to us, wanted to partner with us because of all of you that consume the show, that share the show, that comment on the show. So a huge thank you to all of you. It's a big time partnership, and we could not be more excited that our friends at FanDuel wanted to be part of Believe in Chargers and that we get to be part of what they do over there. Not going to lie, it is right in my wheelhouse because I love to do. So big thank you to our friends over there for wanting to do this with us. It's exciting, and even more exciting than that, Low, is that we had NFL football last night. Got back to the house, head to pillow, probably somewhere around 3:15, 3:30 a.m., but was able to just kind of – I ended up passing out before. I rarely get the I fall asleep before wheels even go up.
Right.
But that's how exhausted I was. So slept the whole flight. I feel great. And I think a big part of that, Low, was just what a great game we had. What a great experience. What a great day. It was so much fun to be in Canton yesterday with this team whose always compete mantra was on display with how they played that game last night.
No question. It just goes to show you just what a Harbaugh team is about and just the whole what it is to be a Charger. And yes, we know it's preseason, so you got to throw it out. I get it. But at the same sense, you represent when you go on a trip and you're playing preseason, I don't care. When you're playing football, even though it doesn't count, it counts in a way how you look as a professional. It counts in a way how organized your organization is. And it starts from the top. And, you know, Detroit, let's face it, they're a playoff-bound team. They're a good team, a team that you've seen that they were, you know, been a contender.
Yeah.
But it just goes to show you the way that Harbaugh has his teams ready to play. And that's from the backups, not even as a starting position.
Yeah, look, one team was ready to play, one team wasn't. It's that simple. Yeah. I mean, there's no two ways. And I ran into somebody that I worked with at the Chargers for a while that's now working over there. And he was like, dude, you guys been practicing for 2 weeks. And I think that was something that was overlooked by a lot of people is that the Lions were allowed to start a week earlier and they didn't. They've been practicing for a week. The Chargers been practicing for 2 weeks. And you saw that in spades in execution, in just attention to detail, and how buttoned up that team was when they took the field last night for the first play, the opening kickoff. And you know, exactly a butt fumble, you know, a nice tackle by Caleb Murphy, and Kendall Williamson's there to punch the ball out. It was funny. I was at camp. I don't know if it was Monday or Tuesday. It might have been Monday that I was watching. I think it was Coach Fuller, the new safeties coach, who was running the drill. But you know, the big donuts, the big foam donuts. So, and I assume, I guess I just haven't been paying close enough attention, but, you know, he's got a little Velcro inside of the donut where the football is Velcroed, and he's got these guys attacking that football or that donut, punching that football out and trying to recover it as they go down to a mat. And first play of the game, there it is, man. You know, Stroud's going to the ground. And by the way, if I may, can we not get a linebacker wearing 15? I don't mind the single digits. You know, I think of LeVar Arrington and number 2 and all that. That's
right.
But when you start throwing 15 on them, I'm looking at because I'm not studying the Lions. I don't give a damn. And I'm like, who is back there with Lovett? I know Lovett's 19. I remember watching him. He's a freaking jackrabbit and a lightning quick. And I'm like, 15. And I'm like, oh, it's Grant Stewart. The linebacker, but he's a special teams ace. Ultimately,
right.
So you punch it out, you get the recovery, and it's like always compete. There it is, man. Ryan. And this is what I was going to say, Lo. I think it's a testament to the top down, right? You hire Jim Harbaugh, and you've got John Spanos and Dean saying, "Hey, I know your son's a special teams coach, but we really like our guy. We'd really like you to interview Ryan Ficken. We think we have one of the best in the business." Harbaugh interviews him. You know, his son Jay is a special teams coach for the Seahawks now, you know, after doing it with him at Michigan. And instead of hiring his son, he's like, this guy's special. We got to keep Ryan Ficken here. Ryan Ficken. We got to keep Chris Gold, too, our assistant special teams coordinator, because this unit's buttoned up. It's one of the best in the league. And that's what we're doing. And there it was on display in the first play.
And that's what a lot of coaches don't do. They don't, and kudos to Dean and AJ to step. I mean, in young
John and
span,
AJ and everybody.
John to say, hey, look, we're going to keep him. Let's try to keep and talk to Harbaugh. And Harbaugh says, okay, let's meet with him. Let's talk and let's figure this thing out. And he says, hey, look, this is a good guy. It's a good coach, and he knows what he's doing. I'm going to keep him. If it's not broke, let's not fix it. So let's just go with what's worked for us, and it paid off, and it's going to continue to pay off. But that's just who Harbaugh is, and it just shows that this organization, I mean, the Chargers have had its struggles. Let's face it, just organization, structure, all those things over the years, and what organization hasn't? Right. But it just goes to show you when you get the right people in place, and no matter what, if you get the right people in place and you have the system flowing and you say, okay, look, we're all going to be on the same boat and we're all rowing in the same direction, you can see the success happen, and it's showing up and it's showing up and it's showing up early.
Yeah, and I think, look, and I don't mind. I get a paycheck that has a lightning bolt on it. It's fine. You can characterize this however you want. But I'll say this, whatever you want to say about ownership, understand this. This is one of, if not the most expensive coaching staff in the league. You've got a strength and conditioning coordinator that is the highest paid in the NFL. You have got coordinators specifically in Jesse Minter that are getting paid at the top of the scale. Jesse Minter is probably up there as one of the highest. Chip Kelly obviously got a grip of cash to leave Ohio State for the Raiders, but Jesse Minter is making money. Ryan Ficken got paid a premium to stick around. So Jim Harbaugh went in and say, hey, Spanos, John and AJ and Dean, this is what I need. You want me to come be your head coach? Yes, I'm going to be one of the highest paid head coaches in the league, but I also need a grip of cash for my staff. And I think they have the best defensive line coach in the league in Mike Elston. You saw that yesterday. My God, interior of that line. Just go ahead. Let's start there, Lo, and get into that, because that's not going to show up in the box score. So I'd love for you to share what you saw from the interior of that line.
Oh, you're absolutely right. You know football. You can ask me to share, but you know football well enough money to know that it starts up front. You and I, we talk about, hey, look, you can have the best guys in the secondary, but if those guys up front don't get after the quarterback and you have to cover for all day, then it's hard. You watch the way the corners understood the pressure and they trust their technique. Okay, 4 yards, this ball's coming out. Cornerbacks are running the routes for guys, coming underneath, pick six, door near, and just watching the guys up front. The quarterback on the Lions had no chance. He was just back there scrambling, looked inconsistent. Sure, you saw a little, of course, it's early preseason game, but you saw those guys up front. They were humming. It just goes to show you that when you have a good offensive or good defensive line coach and you have a system that Jesse Minter had put in, and to watch the guys buy in, it's not that they're necessarily better athletes than the other team, but it's the buy-in, the athletes that you have that's saying, I'm willing to execute your plan. I tell people all the time, talent win games, execution and team wins championships. And that's what you're starting to see. These guys, the buy-in and the team concept this early in preseason, that's what we know that it's preseason. But I think, Money, we're talking about what made Charger fans should be optimistic and be happy about is to see how far these guys along in the first game of preseason.
Yeah, and I love that you put it that way, Lo, because I pulled up my chart here, and you've got Deshaun Hand, eighth season, signed as a free agent this offseason, right? So it's his first year in the system. You got Naquan Jones, fifth season. Tito going into his fourth season. Those guys are all out there. They're playing. They're playing. Let me get to the let me see if I can find the snap counts. What do we got on? Let's see. Where you at here? Where you at, Deshaun? We got Tito played six snaps. So did Deshaun Hand, 6 snaps. Naquan Jones, 17 snaps. How about the old man, Tony Jefferson, playing 17 snaps out there? I mean, that's buy-in. That's, you know what? Tito doesn't have to play. Tito was able to sit, but we're new. Deshaun Hand, I'm new here. Let's get out there. Let's get some live reps, even though I'm an 8-year veteran out of Alabama. And I'm going to get out there, and man, did he get after it. And it was fun to see all that beef up front, man, because that is a big freaking group of dudes, and they were pushing that Lions line around on the interior.
Right. No question. Where they were setting a new line of scrimmage, they were setting the edge. You saw them creating different pass lanes, and they were absolutely beating them to the punch up front. And you're talking about a Tony Jefferson, a guy that you and I, that you love, Money. You talked about this guy thinking about retiring. Here's a guy that thinks I'm going to go coach, and they pretty much get him off the couch and say, "Oh, we think you can play." And what does he do every time you put him on the field? He just make plays.
Yeah.
Let me pick one off. Let me see let me read the quarterback. Let me drop back. I'm playing cover 2. Okay, I'm gonna look in and bait the quarterback to throw this ball to this fade route. And I'm like, this old cat got some swag. This old cat's got some swag.
Oh yeah, and it's funny because both of the interceptions, right? So you've got Tony Jefferson, who's
what year is he?
11th season. 11th season, Low.
Is he a bubble guy, right? Isn't this a bubble guy?
Probably, yeah. I think they probably think they can hide him on the practice squad and call him up when they need him, like they did last year. That no one else is going to come get him. But who knows? After how well he played last year, and you're a standalone game, nationally televised on NBC, so people are like, "Damn, Tony Jefferson filled that hole and blew up that run play like a missile," and then baits the quarterback into the interception. So you got Tony as an 11th season vet, and then on the flip side of that, you got an undrafted free agent in Nico Reed, who was told he's too small. You're listed at 5'10", 180. You're probably a click smaller and a click lighter than that, and that's why. And you're a press man corner that ain't going to play in the NFL. What does he do? 7th year quarterback in Kyle Allen, and he played him like a freaking drum. Set him up and jump that route. And that's what we've seen all training camp. He's been the best corner in training camp, Low. Your undrafted free agent rookie's been the best corner out there.
He's got feet. You know who he reminds me of? And he's got you'll like this one. I know Ray Micken's son's playing safety, but he's not playing corner. But I'm gonna tell you who reminds Mighty Mouse. Eric Allen played with me with the Saints. But you remember that we brought in Mighty Mouse, the other little corner we brought in was his name? Other little corner, played in Kansas City, but then he went with Eric to the Saints, played with their short little guy, and this guy could jump corner. I mean, he played in Philadelphia too. Right. God, dog, now I'm forgetting his name. McMillan. Remember?
Crud. I know exactly what you're talking about.
He's reminded short. Yeah, really short guy, same kind of built the same way. McMillan, look, he played in Philadelphia. He was on the opposite side of Eric Allen. He was late draft pick, and everyone started going to they call him Mighty Mouse.
Mark McMillan.
I knew we were getting there. We were going to get there. We were going to get there. But this is what this guy reminds. Quick feet, can break on the ball. Boom. I love his ability to break, and he's relaxed. You can tell he's having fun. Just quick feet and can just cut on a dime and leave 10 cents change.
Yeah, and you know what? 2 special teams tackles. So how are you going to make the team as an undrafted agent? You got two great special teams tackles. He had a huge pass breakup. He had a pick 6 in training camp against Herbert, by the way. And here you see it, man. This dude, you got 11th year Tony Jefferson baiting that guy into that interception in the back of the end zone, thinking he was playing center field safety. Nope, headed over here. And then you got Nico Reed doing it, and it's
gonna be tough.
Yeah,
these shares, Money. This is gonna be. I mean, it's fun, but Money. The last 3 weeks from now, you and I are gonna be like, what do you do? Who you keep? Where do you go?
You can't hide him. You can't hide Nico. Not after that. Not after everybody talks about how
can't hide him.
Yeah, he's either making the team or he's playing somewhere else. And I think based on money, you paid Raheem Sanders $60,000, the highest guarantee of any undrafted free agent, the running back who's been dinged up, didn't get into the game yesterday. And Nico was the second. He got 40 G's in guaranteed money. So he was a priority undrafted free agent, somebody that they thought could end up doing something like this. And I don't see it. I don't see how he doesn't make the team. And that's not just from last night in one interception, but it's just been all camp long. And look, I think, how does this happen? How does a guy that's got 50 games under his belt at Oregon and, and I think 5 interceptions. I think he took the corner job away from Bridges, and that's why he transferred to Florida, they were playing at safety last night. But so how does that happen? And I think as I was going through, our friend Lance Zierlein, who does all the stuff for the combine and the draft prep, kind of the way he wrote it out, and I guess it sort of makes sense, is he's a press man corner. and he's a press man corner that's probably under 5'10" and under 180 pounds, and that is hard to be in the NFL when you're talking about the size and the speed, and the physicality of this game. And doesn't matter, man. That dude's out there competing, and he, like you said, Lo, he's got the feet, and
that's how he can recover. That's why he can cover, because he's not, like you said, it's hard because you can get beat up in this league, but because he can press and then get off and let the guy believe that he's won, and his feet gets him right back in position to make plays. Yeah, he's going to get done. He's going to get Randy Moss because, but what he makes up is his quickness to break on the ball. He breaks with the same time the receiver, and then he's able to even get in front of him. So you see the way that he plays the position. He plays with physicality, but he knows when to bend and break, and his ability to react to the ball is unbelievable. This guy's got some amazing feet.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, by the way, he's a little bit bigger, but that's kind of the idea of why Trent McDuffie slipped into the 20s. Is they're like, he's 5'10", 5'11". He's not that. I don't think we can play him outside. He's just going to be a slot corner, and that's how you slide from being a top 10 pick at corner to, even though all the film tells you when you're watching him at Washington, like, no, this dude's an elite corner, and now look at him. Now the Chiefs, he's just a travel corner. It's like they find the guy they want to put him on, and that's where Trent McDuffie goes. And some of these guys that are smaller, they don't get the benefit of the doubt because of how big these wide receivers have become and how athletic these wide receivers are, that they slip through the cracks. And it's something that Jesse Minter said. And I could listen to Minter talk for days, not even hours, but days. And when we brought it up to him about, a lot of people talking about, this was before the draft, what corners fit right, or what free agents fit right because of the quarters that you're playing and the zone that you're playing, the matchup zones that you've been playing. It's like, hold on, man. He's like, I want to play man. He goes, every defensive coordinator wants to play man. Like, you just got to have the guys that can play man. Like, I am not a matchup zone or a quarter zone playing defensive coordinator, man. Let me get some guys and we're going to play some man. And so that's what we've seen all camp long is our guy, Nico Reed, man, the undrafted free agent out of Oregon, playing a ton of man and press man and working these dudes. He had a beautiful PBU. Might have been Monday or it was either Saturday or Monday, one of the two that I was out there, that Jaquez Jackson, who had just been signed, ended up getting a step, and it was a perfectly thrown ball. I feel like it might have been Herbert or Trey Lance. I think it was Trey Lance that threw it, and looked like maybe he got beat. And next thing you know, man, he made up that ground and popped it right out at the goal line. And it was he's going to make the team. That dude's going to make the team.
He is. And I think that what people don't realize, and that's what Minter says, he said, I love that money. And he's like, hey, wait a minute, guys. Hey, man, I want to play man. I love the way you said that needs to be the cut. Make sure, Lindsay, you cut that piece for me. But anyway, when you think about what happens to receivers, bigger guys, yes, they're big. They can go up and grab the ball at a high point. Little guys have problems. But you have to realize, when you're running that 4 route, it's 15 yards and I'm digging in. I got to plant the outside feet, then I got to get back skinny, and I got to come down. When you run that 5 route, that 15 yard, and you're coming back down 1, 2, and 3 steps, and then I'm coming back downhill. What he has the ability to do, instead of they're taking 3, he's taking 2. They're taking 2, he's taking 1. So he can make up that time, and that's what he is. He is a lockdown press corner that knows how to beat guys with his feet. So those big receivers, yes, they can moss him and do those things, but when they have to take 3 steps and he only has to take 2, he puts himself in better position than the receivers to be able to nullify their ability to be in the dominant position to overpower him. So that's what he's got. He's got the feet and he's got the heart, and this guy is a player.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, it's the one thing that it really showed us, like to me, the overall takeaway from that game on Thursday night was depth. This team has got serious depth. And so as you saw them rotating that defensive line, the interior, the edges, they're still looking for that fourth edge rusher. Not a lot of noise out of Kyle Kennard out there last night, and really not in training camp thus far. But Caleb Murphy had some nice plays. Guidry was out there for a bunch. Tremont Morris-Brash had a beautiful play. I'm sure you remember it, Lo. He blew up the freaking tight end and then made the tackle for loss. Yeah. But as I'm looking, our friends at FanDuel, I'm looking at where the win totals are, and look, John Harbaugh has made no he doesn't keep quiet about how he wants to win every preseason game, and the Ravens were on that. So I'm looking at win totals right now. So they got the Chargers over at FanDuel.com. They have the Chargers right now. Your favorite would be over. Let's see. No, your favorite would be under. Under 10. Well, I'm trying to think. Yeah, it looks like they've probably got them pegged right about 10 wins. 9, or do you think it's more or less than 10 wins is where your closest spread is? Minus 115 for the under, minus 105 for the over. But I think you start seeing these young receivers, these young defensive players. Jamari Caldwell, their third-round pick, man, had a couple beautiful plays where he was pushing the guards back into the lap of the quarterback, forcing Hendon Hooker out of there. You start to see that, and I think you might start to see those numbers slide a little bit. It's a team that won 11 games last year, and a lot of people talking about the departure of Poona Ford and how are you going to replace that. And I think we saw it just like Jesse Minter described it. We're going to do it with numbers. We're going to do it with Deshaun Hand, with Naquan Jones, drafting Jamari Caldwell. Tito's going to take another step, and I think you saw all of that last night. It alleviates that concern and how they're just going to roll those guys through and get fresh bodies snap after snap. And then we're going to get to the wide receivers here and all the questions about last year it was just Ladd. What do we got this year? And, man, you saw it with Keandre Lambert-Smith, another guy that's making a ton of noise in training camp, right? And that was the other thing that's on display. And I think you might see that stuff shit. So if you want to get after it and you think, kind of where, you're feeling good about this team, might be a good time to kind of take a look at the win totals before maybe they get adjusted as these young players start to raise their hand. And I didn't even mention Omari and Hampton. He only touched the ball 3 times, but man, that jump cut and that explosion forward low and that big body, you saw that as well.
I tell you, go to FanDuel. This for me, it's tough because I think you and I both know it's tough because you're right there at 10, and the division it's loaded. You have the best coaches in the league in this same conference. You have so much talent. You got to realize Denver went out and got the mean machine, Greenlaw, a hitting savage. So you think about what the Raiders, they got better. Kansas City, so it's hard to do that. I know, FanDuel's got that number. It's like, God, they put whoever set these lines, they did a great job. The biggest thing for me, Money, and it's probably for you too, I would take that over if I knew that I could say, look, the big guys aren't going to get hurt. Right. Injuries is going to play because you got to be able, and that's what I love about this team, because you got those depths. Those young guys don't know how to quit. They're like, okay, I gotta raise my hand. So they know if you stay in there and you're performing, I'm instead of six plays, I'm gonna get 8 plays. So that's what you like, and that's what Mentor understands, that he's going to be letting these guys rotate. Who's going to make a play? Who's going to raise their hand? Who's going to earn the right to have more than 7, 10, 15 plays and higher? Who is going to earn that right? So I love that you have a good young nucleus and a good group of older veteran guys that's going to push one another.
Yeah, and to that extent, that's the depth we're talking about. You are going to have injuries. How do you overcome the injuries? And that's like, let's just take running back. Najee Harris is injured. He was going to be your starter. And what did we see out there? That's all I needed to see was 1 carry from Amari. Yep. That's it. That was enough for me, man. That jump cut and that explosion was, here's a guy that worked his way into the backfield. Nope, I'm going to jump out of your way, and then my foot's in the ground, and I'm already 5 yards up the field, and here's a linebacker that's trying to take me down. Nope, shaking you off, and now I got another 3 yards before I get gang tackled. And so so now it's Najee. Now Amarian's here. And he kind of was able to say, no worries, take your time, get healthy. I'm good here. And look at that competition behind him, man. Yeah. The way Kamani Vidal.
He played hard, ran hard last night. I was surprised, but on that goal line, just putting his pads down, Burrow in there, being a smaller guy. Kind of impressed with that, Money? Were you like, okay?
Absolutely. That second touchdown, man, he thought he was going to beat that backer to the corner. Couldn't get there. What's he do? Whatever. Let's go. Lower the shoulder. Yeah. Got that extra half yard and got the touchdown. And then you got Naheem Hines, who's now Naheem Miller Hines. We told that story, I think, last week, that nobody had ever asked him, what do you want the back jersey to say? Always wanted to honor his mother. So now he's Naheem Miller Hines. We're happy to do that for him. And but he looked like Naheem Hines from 2019. They got that $19 million contract. You saw that wiggle. You saw that burst. You saw catching the ball out of the backfield. What did he end up having? Nyheim ended up playing, let's see, because he was out there quite a bit. Yeah, 13 snaps, man.
Yeah.
You got 13 from Nyheim Hines. You got 17. Hassan Haskins was running like he was back at Michigan, piling up with 1,400 yards and 20 touchdowns. He ran well. DJ made an interesting comparison. He's like, man, I know it's preseason, but Haskins looks a little bit like Connor out there, like James Conner out there, just kind of how big they are. You know, those guys are both 6'1", 6'2", and just enough wiggle. And I think people forget, because he's been in the league for, 4 or 5 years, that this was one of the best running backs in college football when Harbaugh was leaning on him as the bell cow at Michigan, man. 250 carries, 1,400 plus yards, 20 plus touchdowns. And you saw a little bit of that. And then you had Jarrett Patterson running his tail off as well. Unfortunately, had that illegal formation on that big one that he busted to the left sideline there. So competitors welcome, man. And you saw it in that running back room.
And this is what we've been wanting. Last year, you had injuries by default. The running back was thin, offensive line, kind of piecing it together. And now you just see the energy and the want to by these backs. You can see the level of competition, and no disrespect, but you just see it. These guys want it. All these guys know that they're competing. And that's what you said, competitors welcome. And that's what the Chargers have done. You got guys, receiver position, Disley, touchdown last night, runs it on the goal line. You're happy for Dis, understands he's got other help out there, but you watching that's the competition. And that's what breeds success, man. Money. And that's what I love about this team. You have so many guys. Next man up. You don't drop. Your productivity doesn't fall off. And that's what you want. And that's what you need if you want to compete.
Yeah, and I think, it tells you a little something about the team mentality, right? Here's Will Disley, who's in his, I think it's his 7th year. Let me make sure I got that right. Will Disley in his 8th year. So through 7 last year, in his 8th year. And I would assume, Coach goes to him and says, hey, Will, look, it's your call, but because Conklin's taking the night off, but I got a second team offensive line out there. It'd be great to have you just for the opening series. I want to get a good look at Trey. I want to give him a fair evaluation. You mind going out there and playing a few? No problem, Coach. Goes out there, plays 5 snaps, helps the cause, and ends up, I haven't seen Trey feather a pass like that all training camp, and just on that bootleg, man, they were booting him.
Dropped it. Right. Beautiful.
And talk about building confidence for a young man that's been dealt some bad cards, and everybody loves him. He's such a great guy, man. He's just a wonderful guy. And to see Harbaugh give him that confidence, and to get guys like Will Disley out there to help him out on that opening drive was pretty awesome to see.
It's amazing. Wow, that's a great transition. When you're talking about a Trey, here's a guy's first pick, 5th top pick. Niners give up a boatload for this guy, and he's a bust. I mean, he just didn't know what to do, looked like a deer in the headlights, want to run, couldn't go through the progressions because he played at a small school, didn't really have athletic abilities there, but didn't have the football IQ and the football knowledge yet. But for Harbaugh to recognize that, Dallas goes and takes a flyer on him and says, hey, we're done with it. Look what Harbaugh does. He brings this guy in. He's the quarterback whisperer. Look at it. Think about before this. Look what he did in San Francisco. You had a guy that was that not necessarily, but great athletic ability, but had a weird raw. And look what he did. Look what he did with that quarterback. Kaepernick took Kaepernick to a Super. I mean, because he instilled confidence. He built. Kaepernick was not the same without Harbaugh.
He was nothing.
He was nothing. But Harbaugh knew what he needed to do to make these guys play at a high level. And this could be a great success story for Trey, because Trey now is going to be sitting behind a top 5 quarterback, top 10 quarterback in the league and watching. And you don't think Harbaugh's saying, stay ready, son. Watch this. Hey, we're going to get you in here, but you need to learn, show people. This guy now, I believe when what you see, and if you can continue to have that type of play in the preseason, I'm telling you, with Harbaugh as what he's doing for this guy, guarantee money, this guy gets another opportunity to start in this league.
Yeah, and look, and that's part of the plan, right? It's one, can we find the right backup? And that's why they traded for Taylor Heineke last year. If something goes wrong, can we make sure that we got a guy that can go out there and win us a quarter, maybe win us a game if he has to, until Herbert's right? And I think that's what they did with Heineke, and now with Trey Lance, they're doing the same thing. Can we get a guy? And then there's a benefit to Lance that you don't have with Heineke, but if you are successful and you do rebuild this, that evaluation was there for a reason. If the 49ers weren't going to jump up and take him at 3, that guy was going in the top 10. He was that. So if you can rebuild that and you can show enough of that, and that guy ends up signing a deal, now you're in the comp pick situation. Now, and that's how you create value. It's like, no, Justin Herbert's going to be the quarterback here for the next 15 years.
Of course.
But if we can get a hell of a preseason from this guy and a little bit of a ring on a phone, and they're like, hey, man, we'll flip you a 5th for this guy. We'll flip you something along those lines. That's when you start to think about it. And that's what they're doing. And I think it was really fun to see. I was happy for him, excited for him, and he played great, man. Quarterback rating of 115, 2 touchdowns, and
look, boys back there. He looked.
Boys.
It didn't look like the old Trey. I watched him very close. Covering the Niners and just watching, just like sporadic, just really anxious. You saw him back there, boom in the pocket, go through his progression, still able to move. No one just to get down, take the sack. Don't turn a bad play into a worse play. I've seen some of those things, and you just seen the maturity. Boom, dropping dimes. 84. I mean, it's nice plays. Watching some of these receivers, it was just really good to watch this team play at a very high level in preseason.
And look, if they're going to do the same thing, if they're going to run this, are we talking to Arthur today? Is that the plan? Are we bringing him in?
Yeah, I think we're going to bring Art.
Okay.
I think we're going to bring Art Hightower.
Before we do that, I just want to point out, if they're going to do the same thing, if they're going to give Trey Lance, a full half, they basically gave him 3 quarters. And I'm at FanDuel right now. They're not playing again until the 10th of August. You got the Chargers right now getting 2.5 as the home team against the Saints. They're trying to find their quarterback. It looks like it's going to be the rookie Tyler Shuck, who, by the way, for people that don't know, if you don't pay close attention to the draft and stuff like that, the 2nd-round pick was Justin Herbert's backup at Oregon. That's how long this dude spent in college. He was Justin Herbert's backup at Oregon when he was with the Ducks, and he is likely going to be the starting quarterback for the Saints. So you got the Chargers.
They're going to tank for Manning, baby. They're tank. You know what they're doing. They don't want to win a game.
Kind of lines up. So yeah, you're getting 2.5 in that preseason game, which will be at SoFi against the Saints. I'm trying to remember where I was going with this. I had something else that I was going to bring up with Lance, and shoot, what was it?
You're just talking about his quarterback, where he, if what he was, what you can probably get for him.
Right.
Right.
Oh, I know what it was. It's so Trey Lance is 25 years old. He's not 28. He was a kid when he got drafted, and he was a kid coming off of a COVID season where he got to play 1 game. So he got to play 1 game of competitive football in 2 years by the time he was drafted. And then, look, Kyle Shanahan is arguably the best one of, along with Andy Reid and Sean McVay. You're talking about the top-tier elite offensive coaches. But, and I'll say it, you don't have to, he can be a real a-hole. And if you don't do it his way, get out of here. This is a guy that passed on Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes because he had Brian Hoyer. And Hoyer could operate my offense the way I want it to operate. So he takes Solomon Thomas with that pick instead of Mitch Trubisky, instead of Deshaun Watson, that's the kind of guy that Shanahan is. And I think you combine that with the broken ankle and the second game, and it's just like football is so circumstantial. And for someone like Trey, and look, again, I'm not trying to say that this guy is going to end up validating his draft selection. What I'm saying is the talent's there, and circumstance comes into play for these sort of things.
And the Niners were a team that were competing for a championship. So you have to realize, you brought that guy in to win you a Super Bowl. You just got rid of Jimmy G. You were thinking, okay, Trey's coming in here to go and take us to the next level because the talent was there. So you expected high expectations from a guy that you gave no chance of growing into the position. So you know what? Like you said, not trying to give him a way out, understanding the circumstances. I like this. This happened for a reason. Harbaugh is doing a good job of getting this guy up to speed because he was not an NFL ready play quarterback. And by this process, I think he will be.
And look, I think the game was great. The game was sensational. It was so much fun to play, but there's a reason why we were there, Lo. There's a reason why the Chargers got invited. That's because the crown jewel of the 2025 Hall of Fame induction class is Antonio Gates, someone that changed the game, one of the greatest to ever do it. Arguably, it's in the conversation as the greatest story, the greatest path to an NFL Hall of Fame career that we've seen in the history of pro football. And our friend Arthur, I think, is here. I think he's going to pop in. And he's got a whole lot going on this weekend. Yeah, here we go. There he is. My man,
what's
Arthur.
up, fellas? How y'all doing, man?
Good,
hey, speaking of Hall of Fame, man, you're sitting next to a guy that should be there too. You're talking about anything. Hey, you talking about anything, Matt? You're guaranteed to run for 1,000 yards in the NFL if you can follow that guy. You know what I mean? Put you in the backfield, you'll get 1,000.
And money, baby, money. I wish you could have been behind me, money. I'm like, let's go. You'd have been my McCaffrey, money. I was like, money, let's go. Get in my hip and never dip, baby.
Money, even you would get 1,000 yards. You run behind 41.
Yeah, let me tell you. You know what would have happened to me, Arthur? I'd have exploded into dust with this tiny body of mine. I'd be dead. You'd be out there with a stretcher and a cot. It'd be like World War II. Medic! Dragging me off the field.
All right, just follow low, baby. You'll be good. Just follow.
Exactly. Arthur's the best.
You mentioned in Canton, and actually in Cleveland now, headed to the airport. As you can tell, using public transportation like I'm a man of the people. Man of the people.
Well, tell us something though, Art. When you think about your career, you came in league. I was there in San Diego. You had Antonio Gates, rookie,
had a young LT, young Rivers. Matter of fact, my first season, Drew Brees was still the quarterback. And and Phillip was thinking his second year sitting behind Drew, because it started in 2005. Wasn't until 2006 that Phillip started. But just seeing like the maturation of all these careers, seeing them from the first start. I think if I remember correctly, Phillip's first start preseason game like in Chicago or something like that. You're talking about Gates. Rookie free agent, I always laugh at him. I was telling him, man, you were 43. You were a guy who was not supposed to make it out of camp, right? And then here he is now. He's going into Canton. Tonight we're going to the Gold Jacket dinner. Tomorrow, the induction ceremony. I mean, you're talking about, like Matt mentioned, a great story. One of the greatest stories. I mean, he was in the Elite Eight. I remember that. He lost to Indiana to go to the Final Four. I was living in Indianapolis at the time. Working at the NCAA, and I remember 44 with the headband. Like, who was that guy?
Right? Yeah, you had Kent State knocking off Okie State in the first round, and then I know they hate being called that, Oklahoma State, taking out number 2 Alabama in the round of 32, and then knocking off Pitt in the Sweet 16, and like you said, a heck of a showdown with the Hoosiers that ended up going to the Final Four. I mean, it was an incredible run, and I'd love, Arthur, for you to get into it. Just kind of what you remember about the arrival of this guy that even then, not knowing how great he would become, but someone who had never played a down of college football, how weird that was. And here's this guy out here with all of these professional football players, and he never played a single snap of college football.
I mean, one thing you can always say about Gacy is that he worked hard. He worked every day like he had on number 43. We all know him as number 85, but he came to work like he had on 43. And that is a tribute to his work ethic, how he saw himself, how, as humbling as he was with all the accolades, all the achievements, turned into the career leader, touchdowns and yards for our organization. but he's just a humble guy, and he never forgets that. He never forgets that, and he took that same approach every day to practice. Not to games, to practice. I mean, he was a guy that rolled up and to practice. You know, just never expected like be there. Never took it for granted.
What do you think it's like for the organization itself? You're a part of the organization. You've had, of course, Antonio Gates, the great LT, Phillip Rivers, and Drew Brees. You've seen all these guys. How is that when you say, God, look what I've been a part of? How is that culture, and what does that mean kind of to you and the organization, and you put it in your words?
Man, it's just, you know, I think of like, almost like today's like the revival. You know, it's always a comparison. I joined the Chargers in 2005 during like a period of time. Lorenzo, you remember, like we won 4 straight divisions. I mean, the last time we won the division was in 2009. You know, that's something we've been trying to make sure we get back to. But just remember what those teams look like and then how these teams look like. You know, I'm always saying, hey, there's my Lowe, there's my LT, there's my Phillip, there's my Vincent Jackson, there's my Randall Godfrey, there's my Robin Oben, you know, Keenan McCardell. You know, I go through the whole list, you know what I mean? I'm like, oh, man, something about somebody on this year's team reminds me of those days. And then, you know, just trying to, you know, get to the ultimate prize, you know, join you guys up there in San Francisco and raise that trophy this year.
So it's a party. It's a celebration. It's a tribute to Antonio Gates, to that career and all the people that have been around him. I was talking to Nick Hardwick, and he's like, man, it's going to be a reunion. All the guys are going to be out here. We'll be having a good time. What do you got set up, Arthur? You're the guy that puts a lot of this stuff together. Yeah. We got like LB Sure, who's going to be playing out there. What are we doing, dude? What's happening this weekend?
Hey, man, I have no idea. It'll be just as surprised as you tomorrow night. Whoever comes out on that stage. I still remember LT and T.I. came out, and I was like, whoa, that's actually T.I. You know what I mean? Right. It's like, and then in that same year, I got to tell you the story, as you know, Jerry Jones went in, and we stayed in the Canton, and Justin Timberlake, I think, did Jerry Jones's party, and he was on the same floor as me. I remember going out, and I was like, that's Justin Timberlake staying like at a Hampton Inn with me? So, yeah, I mean, it's a great time, man. The people can really come out and support this. Like the game last night, you know, you got to salute the people in the area that make this game go by, like on a voluntary basis. So it's great. And then salute the other 3 inductees, you know, Jared Allen, Sterling Sharp, Eric Allen, man, you know, great players that, you know, have represented what the National Football League is all about and rightfully inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
No question. Really some great guys getting inducted. Was able to play with Eric Allen, was able to play with Antonio Gates. Me and Jared Allen went to Pro Bowls together. Great person. But let's kind of just transition into what you see last night. When you're looking at this team and you're talking about, hey, some of these guys remind me of certain individuals. I know it's preseason, but is that feeling this year when you watch some of these young guys? Were you impressed, and who jumps out to you, and what do you like about what you've seen from this Harbaugh team?
Man, I always take a different perspective. You know, obviously we got a great GM and Joe Ortiz and great coach and Coach Harbaugh. Let those guys talk about on the field. I kind of come from a perspective like just being able to be with a young group. I'm going to talk about the rookies specifically, right, or new additions. Like, I see a Nico Reed out there. I see a Miles Purchase. I see a Marlo Wax. I see some of those young guys that when they got here, they were undrafted. And then they step onto the field and they're able to show their stuff. You know what I mean? You just talk about all the times that myself, Dr. Martin, put into, and we talk about the process off the field. And then you see the on the field translation, you know? And even like, you know, you guys are talking about, you know, Trey coming over, right? Just him being welcomed into it, getting situated. And you're talking about, you know, you're looking at a guy that was playing at, you know, North Dakota State last night, you know, right? He was doing his thing, right? So, you know, it's just exciting to see like young guys really get out there and compete for a job. I'm going under a bridge now, so hopefully I still stay in contact with you, right? So, but yeah, it's awesome to see.
Yeah, you said it. So let's see. You got Nico Reed. He's a corner that's wearing 46. You got Miles Purchase, defensive back, wearing 49. You got Marlo Wax out there wearing 58.
Right.
Like those are, you wanna get out of those numbers. I don't know how much more Lowe has, but I'll finish with this, Arthur, so you can kind of get back on with what you're doing. You got pull. You've been doing this a long time. I say it every time we do this. I can't figure out, why the greatest fullback of his era, someone who dominated the position in the manner that he did. What's the Hall of Fame? The Hall of Fame is a celebration of the best to do it in their time. And Antonio Gates put it perfectly. I think he was on with Pat McAfee yesterday when he said, I look at it as a 4x100 race. And all I did was take that baton and I ran with it as fast as I could. I took it from Kellen Winslow and I ran it and maybe handed it off to someone like George Kittle or something. And then they're going to take it and hand it off to somebody else. Lowe, unfortunately, because of the way the league was built and the way the league was going, it was hard for him to hand it off to anybody. And I think that's why we're sitting where we're sitting, and Lowe's not out there with you celebrating his freaking induction to the Gold Jacket. So you're a guy with pull. I got nothing. People hate me. But you're the one that's got to carry this baton, Arthur, and get him in there, man. Oh, look at that.
See, the cat got his tongue. See, he's frozen. Exactly. The cat, he didn't have nothing to say. You set that up so nice, Money, but I just think that it's awesome that I know tongue in cheek, and I appreciate you.
It's not tongue in cheek. It's sincere.
I know you are, but I appreciate it because you've been around the game, and I know you take this game serious. I just, the long as you've been around and the things you've seen, and with Arthur and everybody that says it, and I talk to a lot of guys, and they say, and those are the things that mean a lot. Even if it does happen, it doesn't happen. But at least when your peers, when the Ray Lewis's, and when the Moose Johnson, and Allstott, when they tell you, hey, look, there should be someone in there, and they tell it should be you. It does make you feel good. This is not about me. This is about, the great Antonio Gates, he was able to do and how he got in there. And it's about us celebrating this Charger team that they went out there. They represented, Antonio Gates well. It was like a regular season game. Like, hey, our guy's going to the Hall of Fame. We got to show Antonio Gates how Chargers play. Let's make him happy. Will Dissly, tight end, catches a tight end. The tight end catches a touchdown. So it was good to see the Chargers represent Antonio Gates, and just good to get him off to a great start in preseason.
That's a perfect place to wrap it, Lo. You put a button on it. We'll be back next week to preview today a post game. We recorded this on Friday. Wanted to get that game under our belt, so got that. And Lo, I know you'd love to be out there. Maybe Teddy Riley's going to play. Who knows? Going to be a heck of a party. But congratulations to Antonio Gates, one of the great dudes, and what a celebration. All the Charger fans that I had a chance to talk to out there, it was really fun, and very excited we could do this today with a great game and just a lot of positive to come out of that to talk about. So we'll be back again next week. A big thank you to Arthur Hightower, one of our anybody that works with the Chargers. He's one of their favorites. So great to get him in, and really enjoyed it, Love.
Oh, you're the best, Money. And are you going to make that bet on the over? Are you going to go think about it? What do you think?
I'm going to leave that for the people, man. I'll leave that for the people.
Money's like, leave me alone. I can't be caught up in this, Lo. You're trying to get me in trouble.
I do love it, though. I do love FanDuel, and I'm beyond elated that they're with us. I was very excited when they mentioned that they reached out and loved the pod and loved Believe in Chargers and want us to be partners with them. So we're excited about that. So you guys get after it. Get after it for the preseason game against the Saints, or the futures, and of course all the individual player props are all over there at FanDuel. We love those guys, and we're beyond stoked to have them to be part of this.
You're the best. Cheers. Bolt up.
You're the best. All right, bolt up.